May that be all? Let the bus plan your journey, yelled a bold slogan in block capital letters from the upper deck of an empty stagecoach, whose broad physique I'd briefly sheltered behind during an unseated mash along Upper Shoreham Road. This inspired promotion for public transport appeared inches above another phrase, which was manifest in equally large characters upon the vehicle's illuminated LED display, and read, "Sorry, I'm not in service." Yes, I've no doubt the driver had either reached the end of his employer's contracted route, was running late due to the sudden onset of British summertime, or had another valid technical reason to deny any further passengers admittance. Nonetheless, throughout this otherwise uneventful mid-tempo turn about town, I felt such a logical contradiction was worthy of reference. Speed, throughout 20 twisty kilometres, was slightly slower than a unicyclist drafting a peloton of penny farthings, and consistently fluctuated due to the headstrong resistance of a noxiously nippy west wind, which was itself partially mitigated by a subtle combination of negative gradients and Newtonian laws over my tactically improvised course. These variable metrics induced an average power output, which Strava estimated to be roughly 15% that of a Henry vacuum cleaner's DC motor, after the energy efficiency regulator's stringent 1 kilowatt limit was imposed. Thinking outside the vacuum. Black holes, those bottomless chasms left by a colossal star's cataclysmic demise, tumultuous vortexes of dark matter floating in deep space, which light can neither penetrate or escape from, and a source of constant fascination to qualified astrophysicists, along with every ardent sci-fi fan ranging from lifelong scholars of such mind-warping subjects as linear time travel, parallel dimensions, and the multiverse paradox, to occasional viewers of Star Trek and Doctor Who. According to self-styled cosmic evangelist Professor Brian Cox, who most armchair space junkies claim to have picked up the universe's infinite narrative from where page 273 of Stephen Hawking's interstellar bestseller A Brief History of Time left off, the innately repellent energy generated by negatively charged electrons is strong enough to prevent all but the largest red and blue supergiant stars, such as Betelgeuse and Rigel, from imploding into these fathomless oceans of antimatter. Moreover, if our sole inhabited world were a spherical spacecraft that were somehow protected against the hazardous radiation that accumulates around a black hole's event horizon, which for reference is the region where light and time begin bending Einstein's otherwise bomb-proof theories regarding quantum mechanics close to breaking point, we could be currently residing within one such galactic void and be no more aware than I was of last week's seasonal clock reshuffle. Meanwhile, due to the aforementioned anti-Newtonian phenomenon, once our average-sized M-class sun has exhausted its vast reserves of hydrogen, boiled beneath a blood-orange horizon one final time, and utilised its fading ultraviolet rays to evenly tan the last payloads of summer vacationers on their definitive Caribbean cruises, it will shrink from roughly 10 times the size of Jupiter, our solar system's largest planet, to a white dwarf, which are typically similar in proportion to Earth, but have far greater density. However, should such a diminutive celestial body be able to defy the forces of physics and form a mini black hole, then its Schwartz width, a technical term for diameter, which I shan't bother fact-checking using Google's ever-expanding repository of consistently revised knowledge, would measure roughly 3 kilometres across. Hence, Throughout the 2 reflective hours and 8,000 steadily paced plods of this nocturnal stroll around the lamplit streets and crazily paved promenades of Shoreham's tranquil peninsula, beneath the veiled silver visage of our little blue planet's lunar muse, I walked twice across a dead star's withered soul, and lived just long enough to tell the tale. Retrospective. Much melancholy musing on what was yesterday a mercifully mild spring twilight, with at least one burdensome worry willed to a waning offshore breeze throughout every tame-tempered kilometre of this mufti suburban mash-up. A marginally higher mental detox rate compared to any of last week's unlogged active admin sessions, perhaps by virtue of the £5 discount I was awarded for supreme customer loyalty to Shoreham's finest health food shop. The assistant appeared perplexed when I inquired over their availability of grape nuts, which were once a common sight alongside Scott's porridge oats, crunchy nut cornflakes, Rice Krispies and Special K within the cereal sections of every prominent high street supermarket, and were often recommended as a high-fibre alternative to those who found Weetabix and Shreddies unpalatable once they had turned soggy in milk. "Best try Infinity Foods in Brighton," she suggested, as I discreetly departed the store, lugging my compostable hamper of hand-crushed walnuts, sustainably juice-infused cranberries, and the last quarter-pound bag of crystallised ginger, each a mission-critical ingredient for Mum's homemade muesli. Detoured back via our hometown's smaller but now smarter co-op branch, to immediately fritter my savings on a selection of universally compatible greetings cards, which I was strictly advised should not contain any references to relatives, genders, or celebratory occasions, including April Fool's Day.